Okay lang. Ako pa.
Session resumed. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up additional reference of business and that the Secretary General be directed to read the same.
Secretary General, please read the titles of the bills.
Additional reference of business, bills on first reading, House Bill number 8447, establishing a high school to be known as Luciatan Junior High School, Representative Kimbo.
Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 8448, repealing the Mendicancy Law of 1978, Representative Bunting.
Revision of Laws.
House Bill 8449, strengthening the digital transformation capacity of all LGUs, Representative Kambunting.
Local Government and the Committee on Information and Communications Technology.
House Bill 8450, providing protection to consumers and their medical necessities during the public health emergencies, Representative Tambunting.
Trade and Industry.
House Bill 8451, mandating the integration of basic first aid, Representative Tambunting.
Basic Education and Culture and the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 8452, professionalizing paralegal practice, Representative Romualdo.
Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 8454, further amending the 1986 revised Charter of the Development Bank of the Philippines, Representative Kua.
Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill 8455, instituting comprehensive reforms to modernize the delivery of citizen services, Representative Salceda.
Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 8456, granting franchise to Derecho Telecommunications, Inc., Representative Romualdo.
Franchises.
House Bill 8457, granting franchise to Purple Flower Telecommunication Corporation, Representative Romualdo.
Franchises.
House Bill 8458, renewing the franchise granted to Signal TV, Inc., Representative Romualdo.
Franchises.
House Bill 8459, granting Philippine citizenship to Xiaogu Ju, Representative Pineda.
Justice.
House Bill number 8460, granting Philippine citizenship to Shengzhou Zhu, Representative Pineda.
Justice.
House Bill 8462, amending the Labor Code, Representative Villapuerte.
Labor and Employment.
House Bill 8463, amending the Family Code, Representative Villapuerte.
Revision of Laws.
House Bill 8464, prohibiting the manufacture and sales of imitation firearms, Representative Villapuerte.
Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 8465, providing for automatic membership of professionals in their respective accredited professional organizations, Representative Villapuerte.
Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 8466, recognizing businesses which show an exemplary commitment to participating with schools, Representative Villapuerte.
Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 8467, providing for protection of family privacy, Representative Villapuerte.
Population and Family Relations.
House Bill 8468, regulating the sale, delivery, or disposition of any kind of firearm, ammunition, or explosive, Representative Villapuerte.
Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 8469, enforcing the constitutional right to the free exercise of religion, Representative Villapuerte.
Human Rights.
House Bill 8470, providing for the establishment of the Interactive Entertainment Rating Board, Representative Villapuerte.
Government Reorganization.
House Bill 8471, providing for the creation of municipal special education centers, Representative Villapuerte.
Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 8472, establishing an Office on Women's Health of the DOH, Representative Villapuerte.
Health.
House Bill 8473, amending the Omnibus Election Code, Representative Villapuerte.
Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill 8474, creating a vaccine passport program, Representative Villapuerte.
Health.
House Bill 8475, providing for the conduct of hybrid elections, Representative Romualdo.
Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
Resolutions. House Resolution 1492, direct the Committees of Population and Family Relations and Information and Communications Technology to inquire the implementation of Republic Act 11055, Representative Sarmiento.
Rules.
House Resolution 1493, urging the DOTR to require all toll operators to offer for installation RFID tags, Representative Lacson.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1494, expressing the sense of the House to urge the Climate Change Commission to submit the Philippine nationally determined contribution to
Climate change.
Gilgarda. House Resolution 1495, urging the DA and the DILG to deploy more Kadiwa rolling stores, Representative Vargas.
Agriculture and Food.
House Resolution 1496, expressing profound sympathies and sincerest condolences of the House of the bereaved family of Maria Trinidad Marian P. De Lima, sister-in-law of Senator Laila De Lima, Representative Bunting.
Rules.
Communications, letter dated October 26 of Mario G. Lipana.
Appropriations.
Letter dated November 23 of Amparo M. Kabutahe Tang.
Justice.
Letter dated November 26 of Kennedy T. Costales.
Appropriations.
Letter dated November 27 of Maria Corazon S. Gomez.
Appropriations.
Letter dated December 14 of Michael G. Aguinaldo.
Appropriations.
2019 Annual Audit Report on the Tanay Water District.
Appropriations.
2019 Annual Audit Report on the Quezon Metropolitan Water District.
Appropriations. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading of House Bill number 8202, and may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The Secretary General is so directed to read the title of the bill.
House Bill number 8202, an act mandating the proper installation and maintenance of overhead electrical distribution, communication lines, and structures by all electric distribution, cable, and telecommunications companies for purposes of public safety and good housekeeping. Roll call of members, consideration of House Bill number 8202. Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abig Saldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Senaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagaching, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barsaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biason, Billones, Biron, Bulilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Cabuchan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castafrance, Casafredenil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Mariela Arni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalaw, Coangelica, Coelizaldi, Cuanco, Collantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Duabit, Culyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dasa, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Los Montalia, Dimoporo Abdullah, Dimoporo Khalid, Duabit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael, Di Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Ergel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Pariñas Ria, Pariñas Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Gorseta, Guico, Gullas, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Halosos, Javier, Jimenez, Coelisa, Co-Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lasatin, Liachon, Ligarda, Lim, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Marcoleta, Magudadatu, Mariano Hernandez, Mariño, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Nagaño, Nava, Nieto, Nograles Jericho, Noel, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Núñez Maleñaon, Guaminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Owano Dizon, Pacquiao, Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padjernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Sieda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sangkopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulog, Sabiliano, Siao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mian, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez, Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, Si Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tanalisa, Tanangelina, Tansamir, Tanshari, Tansherni, Tejada, Teves Arnulfo, Teves Jose, Chanco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Chutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmarior, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villapuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Eric, Yak Vitor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waycurat, Sarate, Subiri. Second call, consideration House Bill 8202, Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Aragones, Aumentado, Bogaching, Baños Nograles, Baronda, Barzaga, Bernos, Biason, Biron, Bulot, Caminero, Cardema, Castro France, Chungalaw, Co Angelica, Co Elizalde, Coanco, Cuaresma, Colyamat, Dalipe, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Khalid, Duabit, Duhali, Ilago, Enverga, Erice, Fariñas, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Fortun, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Pablojan, Garcia Sharon, Guya, Hataman, Hernandez, Salusos, Wilton, Konghun, Lacson, Lagman, Liachon, Malapitan, Mangawang, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marquez, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Nolasco, Núñez Maleñaon, Ong Jose, Ordanes, Panotes, Pichay, Pineda, Puno, Rimulla, Roman, Romulo, Sanchez, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulog, Silverio, Singson, Suarez David, Suntay, Si Alvarado, Talyado, Tanalisa, Tansamir, Tansherni, Tejada, Teves Arnulfo, Chanco, Torres Gomez, Tupas, T. Alan, Unabia, Uy Juliet, Vargas Alfonso, Villa, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Yu, Zamora, Waycurat, Sarate.
It makes it. With 199 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 8202 is approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading of House Bill number 8249, and may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting. I so move, Madam Speaker.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the bill and call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill 8249, an act declaring the first day of February of every year as National Hijab Day and promoting an understanding of the Muslim tradition of wearing a hijab. Roll call of members in consideration of House Bill number 8249. Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu Exaldivar, Abunda, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Senaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Umentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Berzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biason, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondoc, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulot, Bustos, Cabatbat, Cabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredinil, Cayetano Alan Peter Compañero, Cayetano Maria Laarni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalao, Coangelica, Coelizaldi, Cuanco, Colliantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagoo, Dalipe, Dalog, Dasa, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Los Montalya, Demaporo Abdullah, Demaporo Muhammad Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael III, Di Ian Paul, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Ergel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudy Caesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Frere Juliet, Frere Luis, Flores, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio Dong, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goroseta, Gico, Gullias, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Halusos, Javier, Jimenez, Ko Elisa, Ko Wilton, Kong Hun, Labad, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim Kai Chong, Lopez, Loyola, Losotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Magundadato, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Nagaño, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan Fidel, Nolasco, Nunez Malañaon, Waminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Rodasa, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Edamarie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sancopan, Santos Recto, Sarmento, Saulug, Sevillano, Xiao Silverio, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay C. Alvarado, Taduran Talyado, Tan Bunting, Tan Alisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Shamir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves Arnulfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas Chutorti, Alan T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Brother Eddie, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villara Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waycorat, Zarate, Zubiri. Second call for the said House Bill, Abante, Abaya, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Aragones, Aumentado, Bagatsing, Bañez Nograles, Baronda, Bernos, Biason, Biron, Bulot, Caminero, Cardema, Chungalao, Coangelica, Coalizalde, Cuanco, Quaresma, Dalipe, De Jesus de Venecia, Defensor Michael de los Santos, Demaporo, Muhammad Khalid, Duavit, Dohali, Enverga, Erice, Fariñez, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Fortun, Garbin, Garcia, Pablo Jan, Garin, Sharon, Guya, Hataman, Hernandez, Halusos, Co. Wilton, Konghun, Lacson, Lagman, Liachon, Malapitan, Mangawang, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marquez, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Nolasco, Nunez Malañaon, Ong Jose, Ordanes, Panotes, Pichay, Pineda, Puno, Remulla, Roman, Romulo, Sanchez, Santos Recto, Sarmento, Silverio, Singson, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Talyado, Tan Alisa, Tan Shamir, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves Arnulfo, Tiangco, Torres Gomez, Tupas, T. Alan Unabia, Uy Juliet, Vargas Alfonso, Villa, Villar, Villara Suarez, Villarica, Yu, Zamora Waycorat, Zarate.
With 203 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 8249 is approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, may request that the SecGen transmit the two approved bills on third reading to the Senate today. So moved, Madam Speaker.
There being no objections, the Secretary General is directed to do so. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, today being a Tuesday, with leave of the House, I move we open privilege hour. So move.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the privilege hour is now open.
Madam Speaker, first to avail of the privilege hour is the Honorable Gentleman from Bukidnon. I move we recognize the Honorable Zubiri. So move, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Zubiri is recognized.
Marami pong salamat, Madam Speaker. My fellow colleagues, I stand here today on behalf of our dear countrymen. I want us to be their voice in saying and requesting all those stakeholders in control of the prices of basic goods and necessities. Please rethink the increase, knowing that the pandemic has not come to a close. As leaders in our own right, may it be public or private, let us show our countrymen that we truly care about their welfare and their well-being. Let us uplift and push our countrymen forward and not backward, like true shepherds watching out for their flock against wolves ready to destroy and devour the weakest of the weak. Let us not be opportunistic in times of crisis. Rather, let us be heroes to one another. Magtulungan po tayong lahat. Ngayon na tumataas ang mga iba't ibang produkto at mga iba pang kailangan, siguraduhin po natin na hindi naman maiipit yung mga taong walang kaya. Ang mga mahihirap na hindi makakabili ng mga produkto na dating kayang nilang bilhin. Simply said, let us not allow our personal opportunities and self-interests to get the better of us. In everything we do, let us put our populace ahead for the sake of their survival. A lot of jobs have been lost and still needs to be recovered. A high number of families are experiencing problems putting food on their tables. Marami pong kababayan natin ay nahihirapan sa kanilang mga pangangailangan. Sikapin po natin na tayo ang magiging solusyon at hindi maging problema. Isang halimbawa, ang pagtaas ng mga renta, pagtaas ng presyo ng mga gamit, mga baboy, mga sariwang mga produkto at hospitalization, especially ang gamot po, Madam Speaker. To me, a faith in Jesus Christ is not aligned with the poor, is nothing. Again, to me, a faith in Jesus Christ that is not aligned with the poor, it is nothing. This is from a songwriter, singer, Bono of U2. In my case, Madam Speaker, my personal motto in life is very simple. He who serves the people serves the Lord. It is one sentence that means a whole lot to me. Kung magbibigay po tayo ng serbisyo sa mga kapwa mong tao, nagbibigay ka ng serbisyo sa ating mahal na Ginoo. In a CNN report last night, Madam Speaker, Oxfam International said, while the rich have slowly recovered, it will take the poor about a decade, 10 years po, to recover. We stand to witness the greatest rise in inequality since records began. The deep divide between the rich and poor is proving as deadly as the virus. This is from Gabriel Butcher of Oxfam's Executive Director. Huwag po tayong pumayag na sinasabi ng mga research institutes na baka 10 taon makarecover ang mga mahihirap sa ganitong pandemya. Ipalabas po natin yung ating bayanihan spirit at yung ating malasakit sa isa't isa. Tulungan po natin kahit papano yung mga mahihirap, Madam Speaker. Huwag lang tayong magreklamo at magturuan kung sino ang may kasalanan. Tignan po natin lahat tignan po natin ang ating sarili, tanuin po natin kung sapat na ba yung ginawa natin para sa ating kapwa't kapatid. Let us not point fingers at each other. Let us be honest and true to ourselves. Let us analyze and ask ourselves if we have really done enough for the poor and needy people that pass our way. Huwag na po tayong magturuan. Ipakita po natin ang ating pagka-Pilipino, lalo na ang ating pagka-patriotiko. Sa aking analysis, sana hindi po totoo. Pero itong pandemya ay medyo tatagal pa sa atin ito. Bakit? Hindi pa nga tapos yung unang variant ng COVID-19, may sumunod na panibagong variant. Hindi din po nating alam kung mag-mutate po yung dalawa at may lumabas na ikatatlong variant ng COVID-19. Sa awa ng Diyos, huwag naman po sana. Pero ang alam ko at sigurado po ako na kung tayo ay magkaisa at labanan ang kahirapan sa ating bansa, marami pong mga kababayan natin ang maligtas sa kagutuman. Words are easy, Madam Speaker, but actions are much harder to do. Let us show our compassion and our patriotic duty to our people, especially the poor. Let us take action even if it is the harder way before it is too late. Let us feed and shelter those who have much less in life. For with this, thousands or even millions of lives will feel the hope of tomorrow, and they will feel less of the pandemic hardship. This pandemic shows no bounds, no mercy. Rich or poor, Christian, Muslim, or even any race, first world or developing country or a developing nation, all of us are getting hit hard. The only way to fight back is to see to it that your neighbor, just like you, has an equal fighting chance to get through this hardship. This is our test of time. I believe that our Almighty simply wants us to bridge that gap between the rich and the poor. Reflect on what matters the most to Him. Of course, with the consideration of saving the only planet He built for us. With this, I humbly request, Madam Speaker, to our leaders in all sectors of society, private and public, let us put the least fortunate in front of us and not behind us. Uplifting them means the very essence of their survival. This is what our Lord truly wants. Whoever closes his ear to the cry of the poor will himself call out and not be answered. This is from Proverbs 21:13. Ang nagtatakip ng kanyang mga pakinig sa daing ng dukha, siya naman ang dadaing ngunit hindi didinggin. With this, Madam Speaker, I end my speech calling for everyone to unite against our poverty-stricken people. Marami pong salamat, Madam Speaker. Marami pong salamat sa lahat. Mahal kita, Pilipinas. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Congressman Zubiri. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate or manifest, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Manuel Zubiri to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action. So move, Madam Speaker.
Referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader. Session suspended.
Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, last December 16, 2020, the Honorable Isidro T. Ungab of the 3rd District of Davao City was elected as Deputy Speaker. May we allow the Deputy Speaker-elect to take his oath, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, may we request the Deputy Speaker-elect, the Honorable Isidro T. Ungab, to proceed to the rostrum for his oath-taking. May I request also all the members of the House of Representatives and all our guests in the galleries to please rise to witness the oath-taking of our Deputy Speaker. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Isidro T. Ungab,
Of Barangay Kalinan, Davao City,
o Barangay Kalinan, Davao City,
having been elected as Deputy Speaker, 18th Congress,
having been elected as Deputy Speaker, 18th Congress,
hereby solemnly swear
hereby solemnly swear
that I will well and faithfully discharge,
that I will well and faithfully discharge,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
the duties of my present position
the duties of my present position,
and of all others
and of all others
I may hereafter hold under the Republic of the Philippines.
I may hereafter hold under the Republic of the Philippines,
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the Philippines.
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the Philippines,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
And that I will obey the laws, legal orders, and decrees
and that I will obey the laws, legal orders, and decrees
promulgated by the duly constituted authorities of the Republic of the Philippines.
promulgated by the duly constituted authorities of the Republic of the Philippines,
And that I impose this obligation upon myself voluntarily
and that I impose this obligation upon myself voluntarily
without mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
without mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Mr. Speaker, in order to allow our members to meet and extend their greetings to Deputy Speaker Isidro T. Ungab, I move that we suspend our session for a few minutes.
Session suspended.
Thank you, boss. Session is resumed. The Honorable Majority Leader, Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider on second reading House Bill number 8259 as contained in Committee Report number 696 and that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the measure.
The Secretary General, please read the title.
House Bill number 8259, an act providing income tax relief to medical frontliners for taxable year 2020.
Title. The Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize to sponsor the measure the gentleman from Albay, the chairperson of the Committee on Ways and Means, Representative Joey Sarte Salceda.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion to recognize the sponsoring committee is the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee is recognized. Please proceed, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, since the chairperson of the Committee on Ways and Means is not yet present online, I move instead that we recognize to sponsor the measure Deputy Majority Leader Juan Miguel Macapagal Arroyo.
The Honorable Juan Miguel Macapagal Arroyo is recognized.
Thank you,
Please
Mr.
proceed, Your
Speaker.
Honor.
I move that we adopt the explanatory note as my privilege, as my sponsorship speech, Mr. Speaker. So move.
There's a motion as stated by the Honorable Majority Leader, please, Your Honor. The motion by the Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate our sponsor, I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader for the sponsorships.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion. The period of amendment is now open.
Mr. Speaker, there being no committee nor individual amendments, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There's a motion to terminate the period of amendments. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we vote on second reading on House Bill number 8259.
As many as in favor of House Bill 8259, please say aye.
Aye.
As many are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 8259 is approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker,
The Honorable Macapagal Arroyo, please proceed, Your Honor.
Mr. Speaker, in behalf of the distinguished sponsor, Congressman Joey Salceda, I would like to thank all our colleagues for helping out in this very valuable measure. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Manifestation is noted. The Honorable Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we resume consideration on House Bill number 6876 as contained in Committee Report number 341 and that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the measure.
The Secretary General, please proceed to read the title.
House Bill number 6876, an act mandating the establishment of fisher-folk resettlement areas by the Department of Agriculture, Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, and the local government units amending for the purpose Section 108 of Republic Act 8550, otherwise known as the Fisheries Code of 1998, as amended by Republic Act 10654.
Majority Leader, Your Honor.
Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary status is that we are in the period of sponsorship and debate. To continue his sponsorship of the measure, I move that we recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources, Representative Leo Rafael M. Cueva, and to interpolate our sponsor, I move that we recognize also our colleague from Party List Bayan Muna, Representative Euphemia Cafemia Culyaman.
The Honorable Chairperson of the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources, the Representative Luis Ferrer, is recognized. And the Honorable Euphemia Culyaman through Zoom will interpolate the sponsor. Please proceed, Your Honor.
Maraming salamat, Tinong Speaker. Kagalang-galang na sponsor, pahintulutan ba ang tinatawang ito na magpahayag ng ilang katanungan at paglilinaw, Tinong Speaker?
Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader, sir.
Majority Leader, the sponsor.
Mr. Speaker, let me ask the indulgence of Representative Culyaman. Considering that the sponsor is also not yet online, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 6876.
There's a motion to suspend consideration of the said item. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend the session.
Session suspended.
Huh? What?
Session is resumed. The Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we resume consideration on House Bill number 8243 as contained in Committee Report number 689, and that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the measure.
The Secretary General, please proceed with the reading of the title of the bill, 8243, House Bill 8243.
House Bill number 8243, an act protecting and promoting the rights to equality and non-discrimination on the basis of race, ethnicity, and religion.
The Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary status is that we are in the period of sponsorship and debate. To sponsor the measure, I move that we recognize Deputy Majority Leader Juan Miguel Macapagal Arroyo, and to give a manifestation, I move that we recognize Representative Arlene Brosas of Party List Gabriela.
The Honorable Juan Miguel Arroyo is recognized, and for interpellation is the Honorable Arlene Brosas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor for this representation to sponsor the said measure in behalf of the Honorable Suntay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I stand in front of you to commend our honorable representatives for wording the Equality and Non-Discrimination on Race, Ethnicity, and Religion Act. Rigid stereotypes and differing beliefs of various religions and the distinct culture of every ethnic group almost always put people in boxes. But these notions do not reflect their realities, especially how one's race, ethnicity, and/or religion influence how a person lives or is given a chance to live with liberty and dignity. Isang nangingibabaw na halimbawa rito ay kung paanong tumindig ang ating mga kababayang katutubo na ang lupa ay buhay, na ang lupa ang nagbibigay buhay at bahay at tumutugon sa pang-araw-araw na buhay, at kung paanong sila'y patuloy na minimilitarisa, pinapalayas at pinapatay mismo sa kanilang lupang ninuno. Ang mga ganitong uri ng diskriminasyon na direktang nagpapahamak sa buhay ng ating kapwa ang gusto nating tugunan sa mga ganitong panukalang batas. And being a principal author of one of the many SOGI equality bills here in Congress, we support such safeguards that protect the rights of the discriminated and marginalized, such as that of our indigenous cultural communities and indigenous peoples, and penalize discriminatory acts and practices against them. Magkasama ang mga kapatid nating katutubo at LGBTQ+ sa araw-araw na nakakaranas ng hate crimes. Pinagpupugayan nga po ng kinatawang ito ang pagiging komprehensibo ng House Bill 8243 at kung paanong inilatag nito lahat ng mga akto ng diskriminasyon sa lahat ng antas. Mula sa pagkakait ng karapatang bumoto at magpamalas ng partisipasyon sa mga usaping panlipunan hanggang sa oportunidad sa nakabubuhay at makataong trabaho at makamasang edukasyon, sa karapatan sa lupang ninuno at karapatan na magkaroon ng maayos na tirahan, hanggang sa pagtanggap ng mga basic social services at sa paggamit ng pampublikong lugar at mga pasilidad. Malaking pagkilala rin natin na kasama dito sa reparation for victims na halos araw-araw ay dumaranas ng iba't ibang forma ng pandarahas, panggigipit, pagsupil sa karapatan at patuloy na mga pang-aabuso sa kanila na nakasasagka sa kalayaan nilang mabuhay ng mapayapa at malayang makapagpahayag ng kanilang kultura at paniniwala. In this regard, this representation joins the sponsor of the said bill, especially Honorable Representative Bong Suntay of the 4th District of Quezon City and the whole House Committee on Human Rights in pushing for the protection against discrimination and protection from the rampant state-sponsored abuses against vulnerable members of our society. Kasama ninyo ang kinatawang ito sa patuloy na pagsusulong ng mga batas para sa pagkakapantay-pantay. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
What is the pleasure of the Honorable Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker,
The Honorable Juan Miguel Arroyo is recognized.
in behalf of the distinguished sponsor, the Honorable Suntay, I wish that the House would take note of the manifestation and thank the support of the Honorable Brosas.
The manifestation of the Honorable Brosas is noted. The Honorable Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate or sponsor, I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
there's a motion to terminate the period of sponsorship and debate. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
There's a motion to proceed with the period of amendments. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, there being no committee or individual amendments, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There being no amendment, the motion, please restate the motion, Mr. Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There's a motion to terminate the period of amendments. Is there any objection again? Chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading on House Bill number 8243.
As many are as in favor of House Bill number 8243, please say aye.
Aye.
As many are against, say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 8243 is approved on second reading. The Honorable Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I now move that we resume consideration on House Bill number 7749 as contained in Committee Report number 524 and that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the measure.
There's a motion to proceed with the discussion of House Bill 7749. The Secretary General, please read the title of the bill.
House Bill 7749, an act providing for government financial institutions unified initiatives to distress enterprises for economic recovery.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary status is that we are in the period of sponsorship and debate. I move that we recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries, Representative Juni Kua, to resume his sponsorship of the measure. And to interpolate our sponsor, I move that we recognize our distinguished minority leader, Representative Joseph Stephen Caraps Paduano of Party List Abang Lincoln.
The Chairman of the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries is recognized, the Honorable Representative Juni Kua, via Zoom for his sponsorship. And for the interpellation is the Honorable Minority Leader, the Honorable Joseph Paduano. Please proceed for the sponsorship, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Minority Leader is recognized. Please proceed, the Honorable Paduano.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To our dear colleagues, good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Speaker, for obvious reason, I preferred to deliver my manifestation rather than to interpolate the good sponsor, the Chairman of the Committee on Banks, Chairman Juni Kua. Mr. Speaker, and of course, Mr. Speaker, this guide bill, House Bill number 7749, was deliberated and interpolated by so many members in this august chamber, especially members in the minority. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I rather choose to deliver my manifestation on the said bill, just to articulate issues, concerns, and questions that was raised by members of the minority and this representation, Mr. Speaker. To proceed, Mr. Speaker, economic recovery definitely is and should be included in our list of priority legislations. Guide Bill, which is in the period of debate and interpellation for the past months, has been discussed thoroughly and comprehensively. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, with due respect to the author, to the sponsor, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, Chairman Junicua, instead of getting answers to questions, it creates more confusion to this representation, Mr. Chairman. But of course, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, this period must be put to a close at this time. Before I move to close the period of debate and interpellation, Mr. Speaker, my dear sponsor, distinguished colleagues, please allow me to put forth my observations as I manifest them. Thus, number one, Mr. Speaker, the programs enumerated in chapters 2 and 3 of the DBP and Land Bank are regular programs already undertaken by both banks. We need not reiterate those in this proposed measure, Mr. Speaker. What I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is about the provision in chapters 2 and 3 with regards to rediscounting and other purposes, which is already programs of the Land Bank and the DBP, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, this proposed measure must focus on SICs. And another measure must be proposed specifically for MSMEs. If, Mr. Speaker, the chair and the sponsor of this House bill would like to file and sponsor a bill that will really help and support the plight of our MSMEs facing this pandemic, Mr. Speaker. Number three, Mr. Speaker, the guide bill cannot be the charter for the special holding company, and yet the same bill requires that the SEC or the special holding companies be incorporated under the Corporation Code of the Philippines as amended, and a choice has to be made. Mr. Speaker, during the month-long deliberation, Mr. Speaker, my observation, and based on the provisions of this bill, Mr. Speaker, that this guide bill and the creation of the Special Holding Corporation has two phases, Mr. Speaker. Why? Because while the Special Holding Corporation that should be created by this bill, Mr. Speaker, seems to be, and well, in fact, it was concluded and confirmed by some provisions of this bill that this Special Holding Corporation is indeed a GOCC, Mr. Speaker. But on the other hand, the other phase of this Special Holding Corporation, Mr. Speaker, is under the Corporation Code of the Philippines as amended, Mr. Speaker. That is why what I'm saying is this is a two phases bill, Mr. Speaker. Number four, Mr. Speaker, in Section 8, Chapter 2, on the increase of authorized capital stock of DBP, this may be considered as a rider provision, Mr. Speaker. There must be a separate measure, specifically, Mr. Speaker, to propose an amendment to the charter of the DBP that increased from 35 billion to 100 billion capital stock of the DBP, which was articulated, Mr. Speaker, no other than by our Deputy Minority Leader, Congresswoman Stila Kingbo. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, this is a rider provision, Mr. Speaker. Number 5, Mr. Speaker, those exemptions granted to special holding corporations are contrary to the principles you have set forth under our antitrust law, Mr. Speaker. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, the officials of special holding corporation that will be created through this bill are unduly removed from the coverage of accountability of public officials. This, Mr. Speaker, we should not allow, Mr. Speaker. And of course, this was also articulated again by our Deputy Minority Leader, Congresswoman Stella Kimbo, during her interpretation, Mr. Speaker. Number 6, Mr. Speaker, the proposed appropriation of 10 billion, I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, will hardly make a dent in our economic recovery program, most especially that we are envisioning to aid in liquidity problems of SICs. Mr. Speaker, what can a 10 billion support and help those multi-billion SICs that was affected by this COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Speaker? Unless, Mr. Speaker, that this bill has other intentions than helping those multi-billion SICs in this country. For example, the transportation industry, the airline industry, the service industry. Mr. Speaker, I don't believe that this 10 billion will give an impact to support these SICs that was affected by this COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Speaker. And I question the intention of this bill, Mr. Speaker. What is 10 billion to the multi-billion capital and investment of those SICs, Mr. Speaker? Number 7, Mr. Speaker, on Section 12, second paragraph, this provision, Mr. Speaker, is an escape clause from liability, which is disadvantageous to special holding corporation because it awaits final judgment, Mr. Speaker, on cases that will be filed later to these special holding corporations, Mr. Speaker. Number 8, Mr. Speaker, on Section 12, paragraph H, titled Exit Mechanism. Why there is an exit mechanism, Mr. Speaker? What is the relevance of exit mechanism if an investment by the special holding corporation becomes profitable, Mr. Speaker? Well, in fact, we will approve this bill, and this will be enacted into law. And we presume that the special holding corporation and its investment, Mr. Speaker, should be profitable enough. That's why, Mr. Speaker, the questions, again, is why should there be a mandatory exit mechanism, Mr. Speaker? I want to highlight the word mandatory, Mr. Speaker. Number 9, Mr. Speaker, on Section 12, Now, on Section 16 of the bill, it states, Mr. Speaker, that special holding corporation will not covered by the power of GCG in lieu of GCG, Mr. Speaker, no safeguard in place, Mr. Speaker. Gusto kong balikan, Mr. Speaker, yung dalawang mukha nitong special holding corporations and in so many provisions, it states, Mr. Speaker, that this special holding corporation is also a GOCC. And why, Mr. Speaker, that this special holding corporation will not be covered by GCG, Mr. Speaker? The same as the provisions that transaction that be made by the special holding corporation, Mr. Speaker, will not be exempted from the coverage of the Philippine Competition Commission, Mr. Speaker. I do not know, Mr. Speaker, for this obvious provision, and of course, Mr. Speaker, it was also discussed and articulated by those members of this august chamber during their interpellation, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, on Section 9, Land Bank and DBP are hereby authorized to invest. Let me highlight the word authorized, Mr. Speaker. Are hereby authorized to invest in or enter into a joint venture to incorporate a special holding company. Mr. Speaker, the wording of the law that we will approve and to be enacted into law, this House Bill 7749, is not mandatory, Mr. Speaker. Instead of mandatory, why just authorize the Special Holding Corporation to invest, Mr. Speaker? As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, it becomes optional to invest or go for joint venture. There is no command to incorporate. By then, Mr. Speaker, who is mandated to incorporate to special holding corporation, Mr. Speaker? Nothing, Mr. Speaker, in any provisions of this House Bill 7749, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these are the issues and questions that bother this representation, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor. In closing, Mr. Speaker, we join the nation in our governance call to heal as one, and part of this healing is our economic recovery, Mr. Speaker. Before I end, Mr. Speaker, let me close my manifestation that there being no other members from the minority who wishes to interpolate and ask questions, Mr. Speaker, I move to terminate the period of debate and interpellation on House Bill number 7749. So move, Mr. Speaker.
The Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we join in the motion of our Minority Leader to terminate the period of sponsorship and debate on House Bill number 7749.
There is a motion to terminate the period of sponsorship and debate. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved. Please proceed, Mr. Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration on House Bill number 7749.
There There is a motion to suspend consideration of House Bill 8259. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider House Bill number 8461 under the committee report number 714 and request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill.
The Secretary General, please read the title of the bill.
House Bill 8461, an act granting the President of the Philippines the power to suspend the scheduled increase in the PhilHealth premium rates, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 11223, otherwise known as the Universal Healthcare Act.
The Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Joet Garcia to begin sponsorship of the measure.
To sponsor the measure is the Honorable Joet Garcia. The Honorable Garcia is recognized. Please proceed, Your Honor.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the House, it is my honor and pleasure to present to this august body, in behalf of the Committee on Health, our Chairperson Helen Tan, Committee Report number 714 on House Bill number 8461, or an act granting the President of the Philippines the power to suspend the scheduled increase in PhilHealth premium rates, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 11223, otherwise known as the Universal Healthcare Act. The Universal Healthcare Law has a noble intention of ensuring that all Filipinos are guaranteed access to quality and affordable health care goods and services, and protected against financial risk. Fully aware that this lofty ambition needs to be supported by sufficient funds to sustain the reforms introduced by the law, reasonable annual increases on the premium contributions of members was deliberately provided. It is very unfortunate, however, that at the time the first increase is supposed to be implemented, the whole world is facing a deadly pandemic which has taken toll on almost every country's economy and health system, including ours. Premium contributions for the year 2021 are scheduled to increase from 3% to 3.5%. Still confronted with the challenges brought about by the pandemic, however, the general public's clamor for a reprieve from this additional financial burden prompted even the President to ask PhilHealth to defer the implementation of the increase. The executive action notwithstanding, we remain cognizant that the increase in premium contributions is mandated by law. As such, only a legislative or a mandatory act by Congress may validly and legally suspend or defer its implementation. The suspension implemented by PhilHealth in response to the directive of the President is simply an interim arrangement until Congress passes a law deferring the implementation of the scheduled adjustment. Acknowledging the urgency of easing the potential burden the scheduled increase brings, the Committee on Health promptly deliberated and approved House Bill number 8300, authored by Representative Stella Luz Kimbo, and House Bill number 8316, authored by no less than Speaker Lord Alan Velasco, both of which grants the President of the Philippines the power to suspend the scheduled increase in PhilHealth premium rates, amending for this purpose Section 10 of the Universal Healthcare Act. These two bills, now consolidated into House Bill number 8461, grants the President the power to suspend the implementation of the increase in premium contributions. When so exercised by the President, we would have removed an added burden to the hemorrhaging finances of our countrymen. In view of the foregoing, the immediate passage of this very timely and important measure is earnestly sought. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the Honorable Stella Kimbo of the 2nd District of Marikina for her sponsorship speech.
The lady from the 2nd District of Marikina is recognized. Please proceed, Madam.
Mr. Speaker, PhilHealth premiums have been automatically increased from 3% to 3.5% at the start of 2021. This means that for minimum wage earners making 10,000 pesos per month, their total premium will now be 350 pesos per month. Ang ating mga manggagawa, Mr. Speaker, ang pinakaapektadong sektor sa pandemya. Milyon-milyon ang nawalan ng trabaho at marami sa kanila ang naging self-employed matapos ang pagkatanggal sa kanilang pinapasukang kumpanya. At para mapatuloy ang kanilang PhilHealth membership, kailangan nilang magbayad ng at least 350 pesos per month. The monthly premium increase as provided by the Universal Healthcare Law ranges from 50 pesos to 350 pesos. Sa ordinaryong manggagawa, malaking bagay ang 350 pesos per month. Yan ay katumbas sa 8 kilong bigas. Ngayon na patuloy pa rin ang pandemya at kailangan natin tulungan ng ating mga kababayan na matustusan ng kanilang batayang pangangailangan, Mr. Speaker, we propose to suspend the scheduled PhilHealth premium hikes. The only way to prevent this increase is to amend Section 10 of the Universal Healthcare Law, which provides automatic increases in premium contribution rates from 2019 to 2025. House Bill number 8461 seeks to grant the President the power to suspend PhilHealth premium hikes if public interest so dictates, such as in cases of national emergencies. Such suspension, Mr. Speaker, will not jeopardize the financial viability of the social health insurance program. The reserve funds of PhilHealth amounted to 163 billion pesos as of November 2020. Meanwhile, expected collections from direct contributors for 2021 amount to 86.8 billion pesos, which means suspending the scheduled hike results in the foregoing of about 12 billion pesos, an amount that clearly the reserve fund can absorb. So, Mr. Speaker, on the basis of urgent need and the financial capacity of PhilHealth, we propose to suspend premium hikes by allowing the President to do so.
The Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the Honorable Ferdinand Gaite of Bayan Muna Party List to interpolate.
The gentleman from the party list, Bayan Muna, the Honorable Gaite, is recognized.
Salamat po sa ating kagalang-galang na speaker at congratulations sa inyong pagkahalal bilang Deputy Speaker. At sa bahaging ito, may ilang katanungan lang po kung pahintulutan ng ating sponsor, Congressman Stella Kimbo ng Marikina.
Opo, Mr. Speaker.
Salamat po. Kung inyong mamarapatin, ang kinatuwang ito ay naghapag rin ng House Joint Resolution number 34 na ganun din po ang layunin. Ang title po, Joint Resolution mandating the suspension of the increase in the PhilHealth insurance coverage, insurance corporation premium rate and the amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Ngunit, ang pagkakaiba po ng hinihiling ng kinatawang ito ay sa pamamagitan ng legislatura. Ibig sabihin, baguhin mismo ang nilalaman ng Universal Healthcare Law, ang provision dito para magkaroon ng talagang hindi napapanahong pagtaas ng kontribusyon. At tama po yung nabanggit, sa panahon ng pandemya, we need an increase like we need a hole in the head. Yun ang siguro maring description. Kung gayon, bakit hindi na lang natin lagyan o bigyan ng sa halip na executive fiat ang magbabago sa pamamagitan Pangulo, bakit hindi na lang through the change of the existing law so that this will not be a temporary measure. We believe that the current case where PhilHealth may, through its board, adjust increases may or may not be the proper procedure. And now, it necessitates the intervention, hopefully, by Congress itself. Pero dito sa House Bill number 8461, ay ibinibigay ang kapangyarihang ito sa ating Pangulo. So, pwede ho ba maklarify dito sa bakit sa Pangulo pa ibibigay ang kapangyarihan, bagamat very timely po yung panukalang ito, pero bakit hindi pa through legislative fiat, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, Madam Sponsor?
Mr. Speaker, kami naman po ay sang-ayon kay Representative Gaite na may mga problema nga po ang ilang provision ng Universal Healthcare Law, which means kailangan talaga ng review, particularly po dito po sa scheduled premium contributions na nakasaad po sa Section 10. At hindi lang po yun, no? May mga na-raise na issues tungkol sa halimbawa po sa overseas workers, kung sila po ba dapat ay makonsider na mandatory din or baka naman pwedeng maging voluntary na lang po ang pagbayad ng overseas Filipino workers dito po sa kanilang PhilHealth contributions. So ilan lang yon sa mga maaaring outstanding concerns dito po sa Universal Healthcare Law, which is why ayon na rin po sa ating Chairwoman Helen Tan and Vice Chair Joet Garcia ng Committee on Health, iti-take up pa po ang ilang mga pending bills patungkol po dito. Ang isang balakid, no, or alam naman po natin na merong agarang pangangailangan dito po sa pag-suspend. But pagdating po sa usapin ng contribution rates, kailangan po niyan ng actuarial validation para malaman po talaga kung ano ba ang nararapat na contribution rates para sa ating manggagawa. And having said that, practically speaking, kailangan po natin ng kaunting panahon at kailangan po natin mapakinggan ang iba't iba pong resource persons, and that might take time, Mr. Speaker. So for now, because there's an urgent need to suspend, naging ganito po ang proposed approach ng mga authors po, Mr. Speaker.
Salamat po, Madam Sponsor, salamat, Mr. Speaker. At cognizant po rin ang kinatong ito dun sa urgency. Tama po naman, ano? At kung kaya't kahit noon pa man ay nung nakita ng Makabayan Bloc ang proviso hinggil sa pagtataas ng naturang rates ay matagal na rin tinutulan. Dahil nakita na nga ang potensyal na epekto nito, wala pang ang pandemya. Kaya po naniniwala ang kinatong ito na sana ito'y maging permanenteng pagbabago o amenda sa naturang batas sa Universal Healthcare Law para rin po na with or without a pandemic, mas nagkakaroon ng mas maayos na proseso kung paano tinatakda ang pagtataas ng contribution rates sa naturang ahensya o PhilHealth. Nabanggit nyo, Madam Sponsor, yung usapin ng pagiging mandatory right now hindi mandatory. Right now it's mandatory for OFWs, but apparently it's not contained in the said House bill. It just states the increase, the new schedule of rates, but absent yung proviso whether nasettle na ba once and for all or itatouch ba yung usapin na whether pag ginawaran ng kapangyarihan ng Pangulo na authorizing the President regarding PhilHealth, only in the area of the premium rates, but not whether it will be mandatory or voluntary for our OFWs who, by the way, as many all know, have also raised complaints. Kahit sila man ay apektado nitong patakarang ito na kahit dati ay sila na rin ay nagtumutol. Bunga na nga rin ng maraming mga state exactions on our overseas Filipino workers. Now, another increase, again, definitely will not be timely, considering the pandemic that has also affected ang ating mga bayaning mga kapatid na manggagawa sa ibayong dagat. So, hindi ho kasama pa itong pagiging obligatory or going voluntary sa pagkaunawa ko, Madam Sponsor, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, ang Section 10 po refers po to direct contributors. Nakasama po dyan ang overseas workers. So ngayon po, classified as direct contributor ang ating OFWs. So to that extent po, sila po ay sakop ng ating House Bill 8416. So sa ngayon po, again, ulitin ko po na although may mga mas malawak na concerns doon po sa contribution, whether it's in the rate or the manner by which OFWs contribute to the fund, sa ngayon po, temporarily, sineset aside muna natin yan. As I said, kailangan pang pag-aralan yan ng masusi ng ating komite. But for now po, unahin na po natin ang pinaka-agarang pangangailangan, which is to suspend that hike in premium rates. At Mr. Speaker, nakalimutan ko pong sagutin ang isang tinanong ni Representative Gaite earlier kung bakit executive decision ang aming proposal. Mr. Speaker, just to clarify, ang Section 10 po, again, contains a contribution schedule. So in other words, Congress dictated a set of rate increases from 2019 to 2025. And if we are in a situation na kailangan natin pigilin ang pagtaas at hindi na siya magiging automatic for whatever reason, there could be, for example, a state of emergency as what we are in today, ang pwede pong mag-override at this point would be the President. Hindi naman po pwede na Congress na nga po ang gumawa ng table of contribution rates, Congress din ang magsususpend, hindi po ba? So kumbaga po sa korte, kapag ang regional trial court ay kailangan pong ma-review ang kanyang decision, yan po ay pupunta sa iba pang opisina, in this case, for example, the Court of Appeal. So ganun din po yung prinsipyo na mapupunta po siya sa ibang branch. And so yun po ang naging disenyo kung bakit in cases of emergency, ang pwede pong mag-suspend would be the President.
Maraming salamat po, Madam Sponsor, sa clarification. At tulad na nabanggit, ang kinatong ito ay naniniwala talagang dapat ipatigil ang naturang rate increase. At sa paraan sana nga na dahil ito ay batas na nilinang rin ng kapulungan ito kasama ang Senado, ay karapat-dapat rin sana na Kongreso rin ang gagawa ng mga konkretong hakbang para baguhin itong mga masasabi na nating depekto sa naturang batas. Nevertheless, kami naniniwala na yung objective na suspend ang rate increase ay isang tamang hakbangin para magkaroon ng ma-alleviate yung kondisyon at kalagayan ng ating mga mamamayan kasama ang ating mga OFWs na tama, ito sila ay kasama din, ngunit tulad na nabanggit, hindi pa rin na-settle yung usapin whether mananatiling obligatory or voluntary ang kanilang contribution, which they have stated before that dapat hindi ito. So yun lang po, Madam Sponsor. Salamat po, Mr. Speaker, at sa ating mga kasamahan sa Kongreso.
What is the pleasure of the Honorable Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move to terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
There is a motion to terminate the period of sponsorship and debate. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
We now proceed with the period of amendments. The Honorable Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other committee amendments, I move that we now proceed to consider the individual amendments.
There being no member of this body who registered to interpellate for amendments, there's a motion to close the period of amendment. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member to introduce individual amendments, I move to terminate the period of individual amendments.
Motion to terminate period of individual amendments. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There's a motion to terminate the period of amendments. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading House Bill number 8461.
As many as are in favor of House Bill 8461, say aye. Aye. As many are against, say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 8461 is approved on second reading. Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we resume consideration of House Bill number 6876 and request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill.
The Secretary General, please proceed with the reading of House Bill 6876.
House Bill 6876, an act mandating the establishment of fisher folk resettlement areas by the Department of Agriculture, Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, and the local government units, amending for the purpose Section 108 of RA number 8550, otherwise known as the Fisheries Code of 1998, as amended by RA number 10654.
The Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Honorable Leo Cueva as the sponsor of the bill.
The Honorable Cuevas, the sponsoring committee chairman, is recognized.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, honored colleagues. I move the explanatory note of House Bill number 6876, entitled An Act Mandating the Establishment of Fisher Folk Resettlement Areas by the Department of Agriculture, Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, and the local government units, amending for the purpose Section 108 of Republic Act number 8550, otherwise known as the Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998, as amended by the Republic Act number 10654, be entered into records as our sponsorship speech, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Eufemia Kumyamat of Bayan Muna for her interpellation.
For interpellation, Honorable Kulyamat, via Zoom. Please proceed.
Maraming salamat, Ginong Speaker. Kagalang-galang na sponsor, painturutan bang makapagtanong at paglilinaw tungkol sa House Bill na ito?
Yes.
Maraming salamat, Ginong Speaker. Kagalang-galang na sponsor. Una ko pong tanong, ano po ang dahilan para sa pagtatayo ng Fisher Folks Resettlement Area? At ano ang pinagkaiba nito sa resettlement sa pagtalaga ng settlement area kung saan maaring manirahan ang mga mangingisda? Ibig po bang sabihin nito ay may pangangailangang ilipat ang mga mangingisda mula sa kasalukuyang kinatitirikan ng kanilang mga tahanan? Ginong Speaker, kagalang-galang na sponsor.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this bill, House Bill 6876, is to strengthen Section 8 of Section 108 of the Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998, or the Republic Act number 10654. In so doing, by the support of the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development and the local government units in planning for the resettlement of our fisher folks in various areas here in the country.
Maraming salamat, Ginong Speaker, kagalang-galang na sponsor. Tinatanong po ito ng representasyong ito dahil sa danas ng ating mga mangingisda, ang resettlement area ay sa aktwal nangangahulugan ng resettlement at matindi ang banta ng mga komunidad ng mangingisda, lalo na sa mga nakaambang proyektong reklamasyon, halimbawa sa Manila Bay, sa Bacoor, Cavite at sa Bulacan. No? Ang pangalawa ko pong tanong, Ginong Speaker, kagalang-galang na sponsor, sabi din po ng panukalang amyenda to establish and create a settlement area for fisher folks with adequate access to fishing grounds. Ano po ba, ano po sa particular ang batayan sa pagsabing ang isang lugar ay may adequate access to fishing grounds? Ibig po bang sabihin nito, maaaring ilipat ang mga mangingisda sa isang settlement area na wala sa baybay dagat kung saan sa kasalukuyang nakatayo ang mga fishing communities? Ginong Speaker, kagalang-galang na sponsor.
Mr. Speaker, honored colleague, this is the reason of House Bill 6876. The Section 108 of Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998 is weak in this part of the bill because I believe that they don't have the time or the expertise in planning or searching for the right area for our fisher folks, which is the main purpose is to have an area that is near their livelihood area. So with the help of the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development and our local government units, I am sure that this House bill can really strengthen the Section 108 of our Republic Act. Madam, my honored colleague.
Maraming salamat, kagalang-galang na sponsor. Ginong Speaker, kagalang-galang na sponsor. Anong proteksyon ang ibinibigay ng panukalang batas na ito sa mga komunidad ng mangingisda na nakatayo na sa coastal areas sa harap ng mga proyektong itutulak ng pambansa at lokal na pamahalaan? Mahalaga ito dahil lalo na ngayon na maraming fishing community ang humaharap sa banta ng pagpapalayas dahil sa mga proyektong reklamasyon. Ginong kagalang-galang na sponsor, Ginong Speaker.
Yeah, we have to admit that development is all over our country, and it has a great effect on our, fisher folks for that matter. That is why this bill can really help on making a master plan for each of our fisher folks area in order for them to be resettled in other areas that is convenient and appropriate for them and for their livelihood. Mr. Speaker, my honored colleague.
Mr. Speaker, kagalang-galang na sponsor, mahalagang masigurado na ang panukalang ito ay hindi magpapalala sa kalagayan ng ating mga mamalakaya, lalo na ngayon kung saan marami ang mga proyektong reklamasyon sa Manila Bay, sa Bacoor, Cavite at sa Bulacan. Marami sa mga mangingisda dito ay napapalayas mula sa kanilang mga tahanan. Makikita natin na maging ang mga housing ng mga biktima ng Yolanda na karamihay mangingisda, isang proyektong binuhusan ng pundo ay hanggang ngayon hindi pa tapos. At ayon sa mga biktima, inilagay sila sa mga lugar na malayo sa kanilang hanap buhay, sa kanilang kabuhayan. Bukod sa tapos ito sa usaping proteksyon sa mga nakatayo ng komunidad ng mga mangingisda, nagpapalala pa ito na hindi pribadong pag-aari ng mga mangingisda ang mga luting kinatitirikan nila. Napapahina ang karapatan o claim ng mga mangingisda kontra sa mga proyektong itulak ng pambansa at sa pamahalaan. Nakiisa ang representasyong ito sa kabuuang panawagan ng mga mamalakaya para sa proteksyon at paggalang sa fishing rights o karapatang mangisda sa balangkas na tunay na reformang pangisdaan. Kasama na dito ang proteksyon sa mga naitayo ng komunidad ng mga mamalakaya. Ginong Speaker, kagalang-galang na sponsor batay sa ating mga araw-araw na pamumuhay, kung saan yung pangkabuhayan natin ay dapat doon tayo tumitira. Hindi pwedeng ang opisina, ang tirahan mo ay sa Pangasinan at mag-oopisina ka sa Metro Manila. Kaya sana ay kung ang mga resettlement ng ating mga pangisdaan, ilagay natin sila sa mas malapit ng kanilang mga pangkabuhayan. Ito lamang po, Ginong Speaker, kagalang-galang na sponsor. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon sa ating lahat.
Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
But there's a motion to terminate the debates. Any objection? Hearing none. Motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move to open the period of amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none. The said motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to introduce committee amendments, I move to terminate the period of committee amendments and proceed to the individual amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none. The said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move to terminate the period of individual amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none. The said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading House Bill number 6876. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. All those who are in favor of House Bill 6876, please say aye. All those who are against, say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 6876 is approved for second reading. Majority Leader.
All right, Mr. Speaker, I move that we designate the following members to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of House Bill 8145 and Senate Bill 1877, extending the implementation of the lifeline rate by amending Republic Act 9136, or the EPIRA law. First member being the Honorable Juan Miguel Macapagal Arroyo, followed by Presley De Jesus, Rosana Vergara, and Sergio Dagook. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion. Any objection? Okay. Hearing none, the said designations are hereby approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we proceed with the additional reference of business and direct the Secretary General to read the titles of said measures/resolutions. So moved.
Any objection? Hearing none. Secretary General, please proceed for the reading.
Additional reference of business committee reports. Report number 716 of the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization on House Bill number 8512.
Refer to the Committee on Rules.
Report number 717 of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on House Bill number 8513.
Refer to the Committee on Rules. Yes, Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider on second reading House Bill number 8268 as contained in Committee Report 702 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the said measure. I so move.
There's a motion. Any objection? Hearing no objection, Secretary General, please proceed with the reading of House Bill 8268.
House Bill 8268, an act increasing the penalties for perjury, amending for the purpose Articles 183 and 184 of Act Number 3815 as amended, otherwise known as the Revised Penal Code.
Okay, Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, to sponsor the said measure, I move that we recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Justice, the Honorable Vicente S.E. Veloso. I so move.
Okay, there's the Honorable Chairman on Committee on Justice, Congressman Veloso, is here via Zoom. Congressman Veloso.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I'd like to adopt my explanatory note in House Bill number 8268 as my sponsorship, preliminary sponsorship speech. But in a nutshell, Mr. Speaker, this bill intends to increase the penalty for false testimony in other cases and perjury in solemn affirmation from Arresto Mayor to Prisión Mayor. Arresto Mayor being only minor penalty, and for which reason a lot of our witnesses in inquiries in aid of legislation have no qualms in coming up with false testimony. This bill therefore seeks to provide teeth to Section 21, Article 6 of the Constitution, giving Congress, both houses, the power to conduct inquiries in aid of legislation. Also, Mr. Speaker, the bill intends to penalize public officers and employees with disqualification, perpetual absolute disqualification from holding any appointive or elective position in government or any agency, entity, or instrumentality thereof. It being provided for in Article 11, Section 1, that public office is a public trust. Therefore, the least that public officers and public employees are to do in public hearings, in particular in aid of legislation, the least that they are to do is to be truthful in order that Congress can come up with a well-defined policy or policies in relation to bills that they intend to enact. Mr. Speaker, I am prepared to answer any question or to debate as we enter the period of debate, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Floor Leader.
First to interpolate the sponsor is the Honorable Gentleman from Bayan Muna. I move that we recognize Congressman Carlos Zarate.
Okay, Congressman Carlos Zarate of Bayan Muna Party List is recognized via Zoom. Congressman Zarate. Okay. Majority Floor Leader.
Since he is not present on Zoom, Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 8268. I so move.
Okay, there's a motion. Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is hereby adopted.
Move to suspend.
Session suspended.
Thank you.
Session resumed. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we resume consideration on second reading of House Bill 8268 in Committee Report 702.
The motion, any objection? Hearing none. Motion is hereby approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to interpolate, I move that we close the period of sponsorship and debate.
Any objection? Hearing none. The said motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
There being no committee nor individual amendments, I move that we close the period of amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none. The said motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve on second reading House Bill number 8268 as contained in Committee Report 702. So move.
Those who are in favor of House Bill 8268, please say aye. Those who are against, say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 8268 approved for second reading. Majority Leader. Good.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend.
Session suspended. Session resume. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, last December 15, 2020, we approved on second reading House Bill number 8212 entitled An Act Establishing a Special Defense Economic Zone inside the Government Arsenal Defense Industrial Estate located in Camp General Antonio Luna, Lumao, Municipality of Limay, Province of Bataan, creating for this purpose the Special Defense Economic Zone Authority and appropriating funds thereof. I therefore move that we reconsider the approval on second reading of the said bill for perfecting amendments. So move, Mr. Speaker.
An objection? Hearing none. The said motion is hereby approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we reconsider the termination of the period of individual amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none. The said motion is approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of individual amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none. The said motion is approved.
Mr.
Majority
Speaker,
Leader.
I move that we recognize the Honorable Representative Jose Enrique Garcia to accept the proposed amendments to House Bill number 8212. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Garcia is of Bataan is hereby recognized. Congressman Garcia.
Mr. Speaker, we're ready to hear the proposed amendments.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Representative from Marikina City, the Honorable Stella Kimbo, to propose the individual amendments. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Congresswoman Stella Kimbo is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I respectfully propose the following amendments. On page 2, line 25, after the phrase, the portions allocated for the expansion of the GA, insert areas where existing manufacturing facilities for defense material and equipment are located, subject to compliance with Section 5K of this Act. And Mr. Speaker, Section 3 will now read as follows. Section 3, creation of the Special Defense Economic Zone. There is hereby created a Special Economic Zone in Camp General Antonio Luna, Lamao, Municipality of Limay in the province of Bataan, hereinafter referred to as Special Defense Economic Zone, SPEDEZ, for investments in defense, military, law enforcement, and defense-related advanced technologies, information and communications technology, research and development, and their support industries. The SPEDEZ shall cover the Government Arsenal Industrial Estate inside Camp General Antonio Luna, located in the municipality of Limay, province of Bataan, measuring approximately 370 hectares, including the 70 hectares of land within which the government arsenal, as created by Republic Act 1884, otherwise known as an act to establish a government arsenal, provide for its operations and for other purposes operates, the portions allocated for the expansion of the GA, areas where existing manufacturing facilities for defense material and equipment are located, subject to compliance with Section 5K of this Act, and all other areas which may be declared as part of the SPEDEZ in compliance with Section 5H of this Act.
What would the proponent say about the said amendments?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in behalf of the majority, we accept the amendments of the Honorable Stella Kimbo.
Any objection? Hearing none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to propose individual...
Mr. Speaker, I have...
I withdraw my motion, Mr. Speaker, and I move that we again recognize the Honorable Kimbo.
Congresswoman Kimbo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On page 3, line 17, insert the phrase, and the self-reliant defense posture programs of the national government. The new Section 4 would now read as follows. The second paragraph is as follows. Notwithstanding Section 3 of Republic Act number 7656, otherwise known as an act requiring government-owned or controlled corporations to declare dividends under certain conditions to the national government and for other purposes, all dividends remitted by the SPEDEZA shall be exclusively utilized for the Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization Program and the self-reliant defense posture programs of the national government. In no case shall dividends remitted by the SPEDEZA be used otherwise.
What would the proponent say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in behalf of the majority, we accept the proposed amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none, the said motion is hereby approved. Any other amendment?
Mr.
Yes,
Speaker,
Congresswoman Kim.
just one more. On page 6, after line 23, insert a new section to read as follows. Section 5, Governing Principles. Paragraph K. All existing local defense industries located outside the GA Industrial Estate as defined in Section 3 of the shall, subject to their prior registration with the SPEDEZA, enjoy the same benefits and incentives granted under this Act, provided that the local defense industries concerned shall obtain the concurrence of the LGUs where their operations are located. Nothing in this provision shall compel said local defense industries to register with SPEDEZA or prevent them from availing similar benefits and incentives through other investment promotion agencies. In no case shall they be allowed to avail incentives from 2 or more investment promotion agencies.
What would the proponent say?
The committee accepts, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Speaker, in behalf of the majority, we accept the proposed amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That would be all.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other amendments or no other members who wishes to propose individual amendments, I therefore move that we terminate the period of individual amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none, the said motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Speaker, I now move that we vote on second reading House Bill number 8212 as amended. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
All those who are in favor of House Bill 8212 say aye.
Aye.
All those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 8212 is approved for House Bill 8212 as amended is approved for second reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider on second reading House Bill number 577 as contained in Committee Report number 130 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the bill. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Any objection? Hearing none, the said motion is hereby approved. Secretary General, please do the reading for 5777.
House Bill 5777, an act taxing persons engaged in Philippine offshore gaming operations, amending for the purpose Section 25 and adding a new Section 150-C of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the proponent of the measure, Representative Joey Sarte Salceda. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Congressman Joey Salceda, the main proponent of the measure, is hereby recognized via Zoom. Congressman Salceda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished colleagues, I rise today to sponsor a substitute to House Bill 5777, an act taxing persons engaged in Philippine offshore gaming operation, amending for the purpose Sections 25 and 27, and now adding Section 125-A of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended by way of substitution of the Committee on Rules. We thank the Speaker for finally initiating plenary consideration of this POGO tax, which was approved by the Committee on Rules 1 year ago. This bill has languished in the order of business since December 11, 2019. Indeed, very timely, as the nation needs more resources to fight COVID and to lift us, especially the poor, into economic recovery. This measure, tax in Pogo, will raise 113.53 billion before. However, due to the long wait, we revised this version, and upon consultation with the Committee on Rules, we are submitting for the consideration of the plenary of this body a revised version during the period of amendments. With your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, Your Honors, let me introduce the proposed substitute version. The new version will raise 144.54 billion instead of 113.53 billion in total public resources, yielding 31 billion more than the original. This is almost 40 billion a year for 4 years. New revenues come primarily from classifying service providers as regular corporations and including their alien employees in the presumed minimum taxable income system, assuming a yearly income of 600,000 and allowing PAGCOR and Special Economic Zone to levy regulatory fees of up to 2%. The following tax rates will apply under the new substitute version. Offshore gaming licenses, or OGL, or the POGOs themselves, 5% of gross receipts and revenues from other services. This is consistent with the international practice. This is also consistent with the House position on taxing off-site betting activities. This is House Bill 8065, approved by the House on December 15, 2020, using gross receipts or commission, the equivalent of GGR as its tax base instead of total bets. The reason why it was TRO'd by the Supreme Court. Non-resident aliens who are employees of offshore gaming licensees, there is a final tax of 25% of gross annual income remitted annually directly to the BIR, with presumptive minimum tax base of 600,000 gross annual income. This will be remitted quarterly and in advance. Service providers or regular corporate will be subject to regular corporate income tax, all applicable local and national taxes. The argument being that service providers are akin to business process outsourcing activities and thus are actually export incentives is therefore laid to rest as the law defined OGLs as considered to be doing business in the Philippines. We have also imposed more stringent rules compared to the original bill which I filed. The new version proposes more stricter reportorial and administrative requirements while also being fairer on refunds and crediting of final taxes, which is only correct. The stricter rules we are imposing are as follows. This bill bars domestic betting on POGOs. Any POGO that admits domestic bets will summarily be closed. The proposed substitute also improves upon administration by allowing licensees to withhold the taxes of their alien employees. Number 3, this also allows mandatory contributions collected from OGL employees to be based on the presumed minimum gross annual income provided in the proposal. This will help improve the collection of mandatory contributions from OGL employees. The new proposal also mandates the BIR, the BI, and DOLE to jointly implement a system where they can exchange information among each other to ensure proper collection of taxes. This is an important piece of legislation and possibly a legislation that looks simple but actually will lead to one of the highest revenue generating measures this 18th Congress has actually imposed. And this will lead to additional infrastructure, better services, wider indigent health coverage for our people, and help us fight COVID and spur economic recovery. With this, Your Honor, I appeal to my colleagues to immediately pass this very important revenue-generating revenue generating measure for the sake of our country. Thank you very much and good evening, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Congressman Salceda, Majority Leader.
Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 5777.
Any objection? Hearing none, the said motion is hereby approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the election of the following members to their respective committees. Representative Alan Benedict S. Reyes as Vice Chairperson of the Committee on National Defense and Security, Vice Representative Francisco Datol Jr. Representative Cyril Beng Abueg Zaldivar as Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Justice, Vice Representative Rufus Rodriguez. Representative Cyril Beng Abueg Zaldivar as member of the Committee on Appropriations, Vice Representative Christine Singson Mihan. Representative Rufi Biazon as member of the Committee on Social Services. Representative Aloy Lim as member of the Committee on Cooperatives Development. Representative Maria Angelica Amante Matba as member of the following committees: Committee on Agrarian Reform and Committee on Appropriations, Vice Representative Marissa Andaya. And finally, Representative Emmanuel Tawi Billones as member of the following committees: Committee on Agriculture and Food, Vice Representative Christine Singson Mihan. Committee on Public Works and Highways, Committee on Social Services, and Committee on Transportation. Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection to the election of the following names as mentioned by the Majority Leader? Hearing none. The motion is approved. Congratulations to all mentioned Majority Leader.
I move to suspend, Mr. Speaker.
Session suspended. Okay, session resumed.
All right. Mr. Speaker, there being no other business that we wish to transact, I move that we suspend session until tomorrow, January 27, 2021, Wednesday, 3 p.m. So move.
Any objection? Hearing none. Session suspended till 3 o'clock tomorrow, January 27 of Wednesday. Happy Kobe Bryant Day. The death anniversary of Kobe. Sama ako ah.
Christmas party to.